kind that are scripted. So she got involved in that direction, and then she's been on several investigations with me. She's even had me investigate her home at one time when she had some stuff going on. Yeah, and then my brother Vance, he asked me, there was a specific statement that our brother Mike would say to him before they would go to bed at night. And that was his way of asking for validation of who I am, And so, ironically, about 2 weeks before that event, I had gone to a place in Denton, Nebraska, and I did a investigation with my sister Cindy and Joni and another friend of mine. And while I was there, I talked to my brother Pat, and then people were to go to my Facebook page and search for the pictures where I'm literally almost touching in my hands an orb the size of a basketball while effectively communicating with my brother Pat at the same time. And it was being heard, over the SB7, and it was also being recorded, filmed. That I come to find out later after I did that investigation and spoke to my own brother about his suicide, which ended up not to be a suicide. He said absolutely not. You see, my brother Pat at that time at 19, when he supposedly committed suicide, he had his right arm, his left arm, excuse me. His left arm he could not raise above the level of his own shoulder because it had been damaged when he was a child. So he had like a muscle deficiency. So when he hung himself, there was no way he could have done it on his own. And not only that, in the room that he did it, in a commercial building, there were 2 sets of footprints in the room, in the dust. And I knew he did not commit suicide. And I point blank asked him, and I talked to him, and he was like, no. When I asked him, did you commit suicide? It was no, very loud. And I said, did you have any help? And my sisters are there with me, and we're all just totally blown away. And the boys, you got to understand, when you have a family member come through, you never forget the voice. And it was his voice. And so we find out later, like maybe a week later, when I was talking to my brother Vance, he said, okay. He said, if you're who you really say you are, he said, I want to know what my brother Mike would say to me and Pat would say to me before at night when we would talk on the phone. What would we always say to each other before we'd, hang up? And I said, well, Pat told me that the quoted words were, I love you, my brother, talk tomorrow. And that's exactly what validated who I am with my own family, especially Vance. And then Cindy and Joni, my sisters, were there during that investigation. They heard it all. They witnessed it all. So now my family is just like, and that actually happened like 10 years ago. Now my family are totally on board with what I do because they've seen my work. They've actually witnessed how I work. And they've been on ghost adventures with me. And it just floors them, that their baby sister, like I said, I'm the runt of the family, that, this bizarre event happened, and now I'm so different, compared to them with this gift that I have.
Oh, very interesting, Cheryl. I'd like to just make the following statement. If you are feeling suicidal, please seek help. It's very important that you find someone to talk to.
Absolutely.
I just thought I'd add that in. Also, before the break, we was going to discuss the word medium. Now, what do you think of that word? Do you think it should be used, or do you think there should be a never definition?
What do I think of the word medium? Well, I'm going to make you laugh. the word medium to me reminds me of a medium in the middle of the road. Okay, it divides you. It divides your personality, and it divides you from reality to the afterlife. So when people say the word medium, I automatically go to that picture in my head, and it makes perfect sense because, we can communicate effectively and see and talk, on both sides of the street. Is what I say, or both sides of the road. So I don't know. I don't know. I just roll with it. I'm not one of those people to how do I want to say, label. I'm not. I just when people ask me, what happens to me during a reading, or what do I feel, how it works for me, and I say, well, kind of like, if you can imagine just for a moment, let's just say you're sitting there and all of a sudden you see partial parts of a movie on TV, and then the signal goes away, and then all of a sudden it comes back and you see the end of the story, or you start seeing more pieces of the story, and you end up having to put it all together to make sense. That's kind of like what happens to me when I start seeing the vision, to having the vision to be able to see. It's kind of like a chopped movie at times, depending on how strong the the spirits that I'm working with. When people first pass away, like especially children, they're not as strong and effective in communication. It's almost like they have to grow up, like we grow up in the world today. They get stronger. And sometimes when I'm working with a child, it's really very difficult because it's choppy. It can come in choppy. And then I have to work.
Cheryl,
Yes.
can I just intervene that we're going to go for a break in 30 seconds? I'm sorry about this.
Okay.
But that's the trouble. We have to go for breaks because that's part of the condition of the show.
Mhm.
And I shall say you are listening to WBHM-DB from Birmingham, Alabama, and we are now going for a break and turn off our microphones.
You're listening to WBHM Digital Broadcasting, the best in paranormal talk only on Paranormal Experience Radio. Broadcasting live out of Birmingham, Alabama.
Hello, people. Can you hear me? I am back on. I am live now. I should just tell Cheryl we're back on, because she's unfortunately she's muted her mic while we're there. So I'm going to see her. I won't be long, folks. Don't worry. Don't disappear on me. Yes. I am going to go to Facebook Messenger. You know. And I'm going to tell Cheryl to turn her mic on.
I'm right here.
Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you fine.
Right, Cheryl. I'm going to ask you, can you tell me where people can find a lot more about you? Where they can search you, find out information about you?
Oh, my. They can go on Facebook, and they can type in Cheryl Ann Elliott-Fletcher. They can go there, and or they can go to Facebook and find me under Extraordinary Connections, or they can go to my professional website. It's called Extraordinary Connections with CherylAnn.com. Or if they would like to reach out for a reading, or they just want to get some more information, they're always welcome to call me on my phone at 402-217.
Sure, we have a Sorry, Cheryl. We have a question from Vincent. Vincent has asked if there was a way to know if odd thoughts popping in my head while at jail are my own or influenced by ghosts.
Are they induced by ghosts? If he hears voices in his head? Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
And Kat has put, I like to know if outside influences are having effects on work efforts.
Absolutely. Yes, you can have, in fact, let me just emphasize on when you are in an area with a high storm effect, like energy in the universe, it can definitely affect you in many different ways. It can either enhance your ability, or it can sometimes, sometimes we hear static. It can be static. It can also make you feel different, like almost kind of like you're in a state of mind where you're not sure because you have something influencing the outcome of what you're trying to achieve. So when you have those feelings, you need to just stop, take a second, take a breath, and refocus on just almost like a meditative state, and you'll be able to reconnect with what you're supposed to reconnect with.
Now, I have animals, and I seriously believe that animals are truly more psychic than us so-called humans. Have you had the same experiences like that about animals?
Absolutely. In fact, I have cats. I have found that cats are more receptive than a dog in my own experiences. I've actually had a dog go with me on an investigation, and the dog did pretty darn good, but then I took a cat on an investigation on a leash, and the cat would focus in areas that the dog wouldn't, and every time I would go and connect in that area toward what the cat was showing me or acting the behavior, it always proved out for me a lot more strong. So I believe, absolutely, animals can see, they can hear things, they sense things about, oh my goodness, I can't even put it on a scale.